Hey everybody, it's the Hey Poopy podcast,
What That Booty Do? From Poop to Pleasure to Health.
hosted by
Dave.
and Ellen, two curious people who are removing the stigma from your stinker.
And why are we doing this? Because we love laughing and learning about butts and helping them be the best they can be.
And on today's episode, we have Edward. And if you listen to the Kimberly Kane episode, this is the magical man with the perfect poo that she used for fecal transplants.
Yes, Edward was so gracious with his time and obviously his donation. We learned a lot. Fecal transplant, to me, is the way of the future.
It really is. I mean, the sad thing is that this isn't a technology that most doctors use because they're scared of it. So it was a DIY fecal transplant. I mean, yikes.
Yeah. And also, we should do a disclaimer here. We're not doctors. We're not telling you what to do with your butt. We're not telling you what to do in terms, especially of fecal transplants. So, at your own risk, people.
Yeah, do not take medical advice from a podcast, including this shit show.
Exactly. We know a lot, but we don't know that much.
And on today's episode, you're going to hear funny things like this.
I was in Egypt many years ago, and I decided to eat at the KFC there. This is before I was a vegetarian, and whatever they put in their KFC is very different.
I can imagine.
And so I had to go to the bathroom quick. But I don't know if they are dealing with a toilet paper shortage in Africa or what have you, but there was someone that stood at the door and they only gave you like one square of toilet paper.
Oh,
and
no.
You just had to make do. I ended up leaving my underwear in the bathroom of that
Yeah.
Egyptian KFC. It was my second story. I was on my way back from Las Vegas. So we were at a bumper-to-bumper standstill, and I just went out in the desert. I just got out of my car and just went in the desert. Everyone could see me, but I wasn't going in my car.
So you'll hear more of that if you tune into the episode, which we know you will.
Yes. And we would like to thank everybody for filling out our survey, which closed last week. And we're sending out one lucky listener a free tote and mug. But everybody else got a free gift in the mail. So thank you so much to everybody who was part of the survey. That really helped us a lot. And if you want to do something else for the podcast, you can leave an awesome review. Like this review, Poop-tastic, 5 stars by Scooter K. Pie. This podcast is not just one big poop joke. Yes, hosts Dave and Ellen go into more detail about going number 2 than you ever thought you'd hear. But with interviews with guests ranging from burlesque stars to dominatrix to healthcare providers and poop entrepreneurs, it's informative, warm, and always entertaining. It's short with a heart.
Thanks, Scooter. And if you'd like to leave a review for Ellen to read, please visit heypoopypodcast.com and we'll make it work. So with that, on to the shit show.
Hey Poopy, how you doing? Hey Poopy, how you doing?
I'm just, trying to find a place with like-minded people to talk about like-minded things about me, about poop and stuff.
Hey Poopy, how you doing? Hey Poopy, how you doing?
Oh man, what's this right here? Is this a podcast about poop?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back on this dump day.
This is the Hey Poopy podcast with
Dave.
and Ellen, and this is episode 134, but it'll always be number 2 to us, our favorite number. And this podcast is more than just poop. It's all things butt health and pleasure, and it's everything that butthole do.
Yes, it is. And we have an amazing guest with us. You never met him, but he is, I would say, you guys are pretty close, you and Kimberly.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, very, very close.
Yeah, if you
Edward.
listen to our Kimberly K episode, she told us all about her business partner who helped her tremendously, and we're about to get into that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the business partner is Edward. Hi, Edward. Thank you so much.
What's up, guys?
Hi.
Happy to be here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Glad to have you.
Edward, before we go into what you do, we like to know about your poo. How have you been pooping recently?
Wonderfully. It's been very, very healthy and very enthusiastic as well.
Ooh.
Nice.
I mean, supposedly you have a perfect shit, and we're going to go into that soon.
Yeah, this is going
I'm
to be
always
fantastic.
working on it. I think perfection is an impossible standard, but I would like to imagine that I have excellent feces. For
Ooh.
sure. So,
That's
yeah,
great.
And on the Bristol stool chart, where do you land?
Just a rambunctious number 4.
Ooh.
Rambunctious. I like that.
How
That's a great answer.
rambunctious.
It's just a celebration every time I sit down.
Yes.
It's just,
I love that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I love rambunctiousness. I think that's great. I'm glad that you're so enthusiastic about it, and we can't wait to like dive right into this. So,
Well,
I mean-
let's go into our check-ins, Dave.
Oh, right.
You're totally forgetting.
I'm champing at the bit because it really is like such a. I'm just super pumped on this one. But yes, I'll go first because Ellen's gonna have some long check-in.
Yes, I will.
I just went to the bathroom about an hour before this, and this morning was a nice 4. This afternoon was probably like a 5. So
All right.
they get like decreasingly worse as the day goes on.
Looser.
Yeah, but it was fine. Nothing. I like to say like mine are boring, but they're consistent.
Yes.
I don't have any. I'm not constipated. I'm not. I haven't got diarrhea in so fucking long, but I hover between the 4 and 5 range, mainly 5.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's where I'm
Well,
at.
sometimes recently, Dave, we've recorded and you hadn't even pooped yet that day.
I know
So,
it's very rare for me.
yeah. I mean,
But,
you go like 2-3 times
Yeah.
a day.
So twice today, and yeah,
It could be more.
there'll be another one probably this evening.
Yeah.
Who knows?
At least before we recorded, you got some
Yeah.
out.
I got some brown out.
Yeah.
So strap in, Edward. I'm sure Ellen's gonna have a very detailed.
Yes. My shit, on the
Favorite
other
breath.
hand, is never consistent. It is always a shit show. It is a roller coaster on the Bristol stool. So I'm going to start with this morning. I pooped 3 times. They were very gritty, so to speak.
Gritty. Okay.
Yeah, I am digesting my food so quickly that I can see what I ate in my poo. And it's not diarrhea, it's just a little bit, like textured. And I'm going to then go into my epic check-in to tell you why it's so textured. I made a lasagna, but instead of using noodles, I used zucchini. And my friend gave me a zucchini that was about the size of my arm. It was massive. So that zucchini had really big seeds, and literally the grittiness of my poo are those seeds. It's just,
Interesting.
yeah, it's like popcorn. It's like corn, like it's just not digesting very well. The
Yeah.
first,
I always think seeds though are a little harder to get through.
yeah,
Like
and
yeah,
zucchini seeds, yes.
Yeah, so I could see that.
And they're pretty big zucchini seeds. They're almost the size of like pumpkin seeds, but this is a huge zucchini. But the first time I ate the lasagna, literally 12 hours later, bam, came out of me zucchini seeds. So like, it is a quick digestive food, but delicious. So yeah, if anybody out there wants my zucchini lasagna recipe,
Diuretic.
yes, diuretic, to clean them out.
Yeah. Just send us an email.
Yeah, but I've been having a lot of poo since this lasagna, so
Okay.
keeping me regular.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you find works. That's all you need.
Yes.
Zucchini apparently works very well for you. So, but okay, awesome. I thought there was going to be a part 2. I was like waiting for like another. Like then I made another.
No,
Then I ate like another
it's just
10.
been a lot of poo.
Gotcha. Okay, that's cool.
Since that lasagna,
Okay.
keeping me super like 3 times a day regular.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Can't complain.
Well, now you know a lot more about Ellen, Edward,
It's
and
beautiful,
me.
yeah.
Well, to all those people who listen to this show, they know.
Oh yeah, they know for
They
sure. They
know.
definitely know. But now we got that out of the way. We can before we dig into like why you're so symbiotic with Kimberly K, we should get to know you a little bit. Like just tell the audience like what you do.
I am a tour operator in the city of New Orleans, specializing in kind of alternative history. Not alternative
Oh.
in the sense that it's made up.
Right.
But, not necessarily the things that you read about most prevalently in history books. It kind of errs on the darker side of things, sometimes dealing with true crime, paranormal, and just some of the less, I guess,
Off the beaten path kind of history.
Yeah, just a little off the cuff. Sometimes just a little bit harder to digest. So we have a certain type of customer for sure. You know, people who gravitate towards that sort of thing. Their fascination with death is definitely at the forefront of their interest in touring with us. And outside of that, I am, about 6 months away from getting my doctorate in clinical psychology.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Awesome.
I'm almost there. I'm in a home stretch.
Yes.
Wow. I'm sure. That sounds like a long process, and 6 months is probably, you're like just about to get out of jail, kind of like, you can see.
And surprisingly, these 6 months, like, they feel longer than the whole thing combined. Like, you get so close to the end, you're just ready to go. But, I'll get there.
Amazing. Congratulations on that.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah. And so go back to your murder tours. Like, what? Tell us a little murder, something that's like off the off the cuff that like is famous for your tours.
Oh boy, famous. Probably the most famous story that we talk about on the tour is the story of Madame Delphine Lalaurie. She was covered on American Horror Story season 3.
Oh.
Kathy Bates played her.
Yes,
she was
in that huge mansion.
Exactly, yeah. She was a famous murderess who was purportedly involved with, various mistreatment of enslaved people that she kept in her attic.
Yes,
now,
and did
given
like
the records that kind of bled their way through history, we don't really know what the true severity of it all was. I think the mildest reporting of it was that there were a few enslaved people who were already dead in her attic, and others who had gashes on their body, heads broken open, stuff along those lines. Now, as lore kind of took it from there over the last century, it kind of transformed into this weird thing where she was doing sex change operations and weird stuff in her attic. None of that is actually true. And so sometimes part of our tour is doing the diligence of correcting people with the assumptions that they come to the tour with, things that were sensationalized, because it's not fair to the victims. However long ago this actually took place, it's not fair. They were robbed of their actual dignity in life, and I feel like allowing their story to be sensationalized in such an extreme way kind of robs them even further.
Yeah. No, it's great you do that.
I went on one of those tours in New Orleans. I wonder if you were, it was years ago, maybe like 10 years ago. And we went to that house and they told us about Nicolas Cage living there for a period of time before he went bankrupt. And that house has history.
Yeah. Nick Cage did live there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
For about 3 years or so.
Okay.
Roughly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he went bankrupt. Like that, supposedly that house is just cursed.
Yeah, I mean,
or his career sucks. I don't know. I mean, if his acting career choices.
It's never really been the same.
Yeah.
From that point, for sure. So you can make an argument.
Right.
That maybe he had a curse attached to him. But, at that point.
I don't know. My boyfriend would say Mandy is the best movie ever, so.
Mandy was good, but that was like kind of recent.
Yeah, I'm saying since his bankruptcy, his career.
Yeah. I mean, leading up to, I'm sure he probably had some people around him that were like, but you know what? This isn't a podcast about Nicolas Cage's acting choices.
I mean, it always can be.
I mean, I'm surprised.
Talking about his shit films.
Yeah, that's true. I'm shocked there hasn't already been one. So if anybody out there wants to do that, let us know. Maybe we could partner.
Sweet.
So yeah, but the real question here is. We're going to be talking about fecal implants, by the way. Some of our favorite things we love talking about. And you, I believe, or you not believe, you actually did a fecal implant. You were the donor.
You were like, you just have to take my word for it.
Right. You were
and Kimberly's.
And Kimberly's, yes.
Right.
But you supplied the do.
Yeah. I mean, I guess would I be the first donor that you guys have interviewed?
Yes.
100%.
Hell yeah.
I have been trying my hardest to get fecal implant specialists. There's a woman writing a book about it, and she's like, until my book is published, I don't want to talk about it. And Kimberly, we just brought her on because she helped Bunny Love's gut. And so we were like, let's just talk to this nutritionalist. And then listening to Kimberly's insane story journey of her intestinal failure and gut health, it was just like, wow, that opened up a whole thing. And then she was like, yeah, and my friend Edward gave me his healthy poo so I could implant it in myself. And we were like, we need to talk to him.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
So take us back. Like what the whole thing. I love hearing about these kind of things. I love that, especially a success story in Kimberly's case. So
sure. I mean, I would like to think it was successful. I mean, she seems to have had like positive results from it, but gosh, it's been a few years now.
Let's start from the beginning. How did she even ask you, hey, how's your poo? And is it healthy enough for me?
Sure. I feel like I've been entangled in Kim's story since the beginning because, you know, I've known her for a long time, and I've watched her body go through the progression and regression that it has as far as being moderately healthy to, you know, going into organ failure. And so there were so many question marks around what she was going through, so many trips to the emergency room, so many trips to doctors' offices, and just kept coming up with questions and questions and questions. And as far as, you know, the hospitals here in New Orleans, unfortunately, we weren't really able to get much illumination as far as insight.
Yes.
But, you know, when it seemed like all hope was lost, one of her good friends started a GoFundMe, a fundraiser to help with some additional medical costs, and that allowed for her to go to the Cleveland Clinic, and they were the ones who first diagnosed her with SIPO, the chronic intestinal pseudo-obstruction. And there's a famous surgeon there, I think, who she consulted with, who, you know, surgeons, they cut. That's what they do. Yeah. And it seemed like the only suggestion that she was offered was like a resectioning of her intestines. But the truth of the matter is, you know, you don't get a pseudo obstruction because there's something specifically wrong with that area of the colon. From I guess like a functional perspective, it's not so much that the colon wasn't working, it's just that some signal was being lost. Something was, you know, because there wasn't actually an obstruction. So something was getting lost in translation from her nervous system to her intestines. And so we started doing a deep dive into the research and trying to get more answers. And apparently there have been a lot of studies on SIPO going back to the 90s.
Wow.
That really provided a lot more information than some of our doctors were able to. And, you know, one of those things being that a byproduct, or I should say, like one of the root causes of SIPO is enteric neuropathy, which is when your enteric nervous system basically just starts to fail you. The neurons that are lining your intestines and lining your gut walls, they just start to die. And there's not really a significant explanation for that, or at least one that I don't have. I'm not an expert on it. And so,
yeah, but you're a hell of a lot more of an expert than we are.
For sure. Yeah.
And so, you know, we were willing to try anything. And, you know, going the route of myelin repair on her nerves to repopulating the gut microbiome. And one of the things that she introduced into the conversation, and one of the things that was kind of prevalent in the research, is that for younger patients with SIPO, they were doing fecal transplants, and that a lot of them were able to enjoy a remission after this took place.
Amazing.
And but I think it was only FDA approved for one specific type of affliction. I'm not, again, I don't really remember. It was so long ago. So it wasn't like she could just go to the hospital and be like, I'd like a fecal transplant. Can you give me some shit, you know?
But the studying with all that is still, as we've learned, so new. Like,
it is.
Very new.
I mean, what she was saying too, it's like even back then there was like basically not even an infancy. Like there was like barely any research out there, mainly in Europe. But even now, like it seems like there's a little bit more, but it seems like it pales in comparison to other, you know, forms of medical research, you know, when it comes to your body.
Absolutely. And Kim has a cluster of different ailments, one of which being EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which affects our connective tissue as well. And so it's hard to really pinpoint like where this expression was coming from, like what was actually at the source of this. But But what we do know, at least in terms of her motility, some of the struggles that she was having is because she really didn't have a functional gut microbiome. So she came across a website that more or less had a breakdown, a step-by-step of how to do a fecal transplant. And again, for liability reasons, they're saying, we're not recommending anybody doing this.
Yes. Yes,
We're
this
not
is
instructing
not a
anyone.
podcast that gives out doctor advice. We will point you in the direction of doctors,
Right.
but do never, ever take advice from a podcast.
Yeah.
Or a website.
Especially when you talk about something extreme like this, because there's probably some people who don't have answers, who might see some of their symptoms in some of the things that we're talking about, and they'll say, well, maybe that works for me. But when you're dealing with putting someone else's fecal matter into your own body, like there's great risk that comes with that.
Tons.
And I think she was at a point where she was willing to risk it.
Yeah.
So I read the website, learned as much as I could, and off into the wild brown yonder we went. we went for it.
Yeah.
But
and
she said that you had a diet to make sure, like you ate certain foods to make sure your poop was really pure.
Sure. Yeah.
And what were the foods?
Oh, gosh.
her bone broth was one of them, I think she said.
Yeah. I was doing bone broth. It was pretty much anything that was low FODMAP, all the gluten cut out, things that I guess she supposed at the time, based on her own research and expertise, that she thought would have been great for populating her gut flora. So I was eating a lot of, fermented foods and things that I didn't exactly enjoy, but, it was what it was. I needed to get my biome, or at least what was being produced in the feces, to a point where it could actually do her some good. Otherwise, it was just kind of...
It's like, what's the point?
Well, yeah, what's the point? And it's just way too reckless.
Yes.
Because various infections obviously stem from messing with other people's stuff.
Yes.
And so I took the one test that was available at the time, like a GI map test that was available at the time, or at least as far as we knew, that at least allowed for me to know if I had any pathogens or any kind of parasites or what have you. It was the Viome test. I'm sure you guys have heard about it, read about it. No?
Well,
I'm not sure if that was the exact one she did with Bunny Love or Lynn, but it's
no. She uses what is legitimately referred to as a GI map test.
Mm-hmm.
It's way more clinical. I did something that was a consumer product.
Oh, okay.
Viome, Viome. It's the same process where you send in a sample to a laboratory and they analyze it for the different bacterium that you have in your feces, and they give you dietary and supplement recommendations based on what you're working with.
Gotcha.
But for us, yes, it was important to see what my personal superfoods were, what was good for my gut versus what was bad for my gut. But more than anything, we wanted to make sure that I didn't have any infections that I was about to put into her.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
That was a waiting period in addition to the diet regimen. But, it was 1 or 2 months. I can't remember how long we did it for. But by the time, it was showtime, I felt like we were in a good place.
Right. She said you were glowing. She's like, his skin was glowing. She's like,
that's her opinion. Maybe I was. Maybe I wasn't. I don't know.
You were her guardian angel saving her, so of course you were glowing.
Oh, but there's a tremendous amount of anxiety that comes with that kind of responsibility.
Oh, I'm sure.
You think, oh gosh, what am I doing? Is this going to put her in the hospital again? Is this going to do more harm than she was already experiencing? Is this going to be a death blow? You never know. You never know. And so...
And what, not just to go say it, but why you? Did you think, was your pooping really great before even the diet and the tests and stuff? Why did Kimberly and you go, wait, I think, it's kind of, to me, it reminds me of a lesbian couple going to their gay guy friend and being like, we want to have a baby with you. And the gay guy friend has to be like, let me think about it. And then, it's you're, Kimberly's coming to you I need your poo. And you're like, why my poo?
I don't know if Kim at the time, knew people in her life that were healthier than I was. She had just recently moved from New York to New Orleans. And so I'm sure that affected like her social circle, but she and I were also very, very close.
Yeah.
And I'm a vegetarian, and, you know, for the better part of my life, really prioritized my health and my fitness. And it just seemed, I guess, ostensibly like I was kind of the model of health, or at least the best bet.
Right.
I was willing to take it from there. You
Great.
know? So I did things that weren't for me, like bone broth is obviously not vegetarian, but it wasn't for me.
Right. No, that's an amazing friend right there, because that's, you know, to actually go against the whole dietary just, you know, philosophy in life, and then to help someone out is pretty remarkable. So
I mean, sometimes I subtly remind her, but
I ate that fucking bone broth for 2 months.
it was all done out of love.
Right.
Really. So yeah.
And can I rewind? What does low FOB mean?
FODMAP.
Oh, FOD.
Yeah, it again, this would honestly be a better question for Kim, because I'm not really 1,000% sure. I think that in some ways they're like allergens to the body, things that people develop food sensitivities to,
Like nightshades or something.
Exactly, a nightshade would be high FODMAP.
Gotcha.
And so it doesn't, even though it's a healthy food like a tomato or an eggplant or what have you, sometimes it can really aggravate people's insides.
Yes.
You know, from an inflammation standpoint or a sensitivity standpoint. And so she wanted to build a diet that was entirely low FODMAP to avoid any risk that inflammatory foods were going to be put inside of her.
That makes sense.
She was working on that so much herself, because, I mean, she had to be substantially careful about everything that she ate to ensure that she just didn't end up right back in the hospital.
Yeah,
The
of
last
course.
thing she wanted to do, and anybody really wanted for her, was to actually have a surgery, to have some resectioning, because by this point she had already made friends with a lot of people that were suffering from SIPO as well, and a lot of them had surgeries, and it was just transplant after transplant after transplant until there was almost nothing left.
Oh my
and
God.
they were just living off of being fed through tubes.
Oh, that's awful.
So we didn't want to get there.
Yeah.
No.
So I was willing to
Yeah, no, and for someone like
get my hands dirty.
well, completely, yeah, but which is amazing. But it's 2 months of your life, not a big deal. I mean, like in the general sense of like you're not going through the suffering she is. So it's just like, yeah, I mean that's, you know, it'd be a no-brainer if someone asked me that, but no one's asking me for that mic shirt. But if they did,
Scheme of things, you know, it was nothing.
Completely.
I'd do it again. So
well, that's amazing.
not enthusiastically, but I do.
Right.
Sure, you know.
And
Yeah.
so she said it happened 2 times. The first time
did.
didn't really take. The second time was, and how far between each time?
I think we waited a month or 2 months.
Okay.
I can't really say
Not
for
too
sure.
bad.
Again, I don't remember entirely, but
But you stayed on the diet for
Yeah.
the second one too.
Yeah.
yeah, just like it was a just in case. Let's see what happens.
Right.
You know, don't go off the rails and all of a sudden start eating like Snickers every day. Whatever. You know, I wanted to make sure that if we had to do it again, I was going to be ready for it. So initially, I think we thought 1 transplant would be fine, but I don't know, maybe further research, more reading, talking to more people. She came to realize or came to understand that like a succession of transplants would actually be better. And so we did it the second go around like once every day for like 6 days, something like that.
Wow.
That makes sense. I mean, it's like antibiotics. You don't just take one antibiotic.
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to take like
Right.
a whole week worth, you know?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and also compounded by the fact that you're just doing it basically DIY. It's not like, you know, there's no like actual like model to go off of necessarily. So
yeah. You know,
I can understand that.
And she told us, and when we talk about DIY fecal transplants, we are not saying anybody out there should do this. Do not do this at home. However, what happened? You pooped where? And then what happened? Where is it? Tell us.
Well, I had to turn my bathroom into, you know, just
A lab?
hygienic place ever. Yes. A lab. Like, it was very intense, deep cleaning. With, you know, with generalized cleaners, and then wiping everything down with like tea tree oil, and just
Oh, wow.
trying to make it as
Bacteria free.
humanly possible.
Yeah.
But like most situations, when you're providing a sample, you gotta take a dump in a bowl.
Yeah.
So and then from there you take the bowl to the sink and you get to work.
What is the work? Tell us.
Work is, oh boy, I'm gonna start having PTSD.
Oh no.
Let me see if I can remember the process.
Is there a blender?
Some people used blenders in the early days of this, as far as it being suggested, but I think that it was decided that it kind of compromises the sample, or it like affects it in a negative way, and is potentially, damaging to
Gotcha.
it. I'm not really 1,000% sure. Well, I know I didn't do it. It was using distilled water with salt, so basically making kind of like a saline solution from distilled water, and using a strainer that I had cleaned and sanitized, and you start working it through this strainer until anything, I guess, gritty, to use your word, is removed from the sample, and everything that comes through, you want to end up with what is essentially like what they refer to as a slurry.
Gotcha.
One of the most disgusting words. Probably.
Yes, especially in that sense, especially when it's in your bowl in your house.
If you're talking about like ice cream or a snowball or something, you're like, oh, a slurry. It's not bad. But like when you're talking about a slurry of shit, you're like, I don't like that word.
Yeah.
But you want to have what is essentially like a paint-like consistency, like a commercial grade paint, where it's kind of thick but it's not runny.
Right.
Viscous.
Yeah, a little viscous. And you do have to mix it up. Gosh.
Well, you're a good friend.
You're handling all this.
Yeah.
Too. And you do have to, at least the first time around, kind of have to just mentally deal with it, where you're like, so this is the first time in my life where I'm needing a bowl of my own shit. This is special. All right.
First time for everything.
Once you cognitively transcend this, you start to detach from it, and you're just focused on what it is.
Right.
Does it smell wonderful? No, it's not supposed to.
No.
It's just, it's...
And
you got a job to do. That's all you know.
You got a job to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
That's it.
And as we've learned on this podcast, poo is mostly water. Then it's like dead bacteria and some undigested food. So, but the dead bacteria that you're pooping out, some of that dead bacteria is good bacteria, and that's why we wanted to get it in Kimberly.
Right. The first go around, the sample was put in, basically like
Like a turkey baster?
No. I guess like one of those, like a hot water bottle with for like douching.
Yes.
And that was a disaster. That was not fun at all. When it came time to actually try to transfer the sample, it was a bit of a mess. And the worst nightmares in some respects, as the donor kind of comes to fruition, where someone you love and care about is literally getting your shit sprayed on them. It was so gross, I tell you. Like, I'm not saying she was gross. I'm saying the experience of it for me
100%.
was gross. Yes. The fact that she needed it was not gross. It was just like, this didn't work. But she got enough of it in, and then she just has to essentially hold it there for
Like an enema.
30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
Butt up in the air to kind of just let it do its thing.
Yeah.
And so that sucked. So the second time around, I used like an eyedropper, more or less.
Oh, okay.
And since the consistency was enough that I could kind of suck it up with the dropper, I was able to move it into a tiny enema bulb. That was so much cleaner.
Yes.
So much cleaner. It was perfect. It was really perfect. So once we got the method down, she never had to deal with that level of
Right.
ever again. And that was a big relief for me. I was able to clean it and make everything perfect for her before she actually had to do this thing that I'm not sure I would be able to do. I'm not
I mean,
sure.
it's a hard. I mean, you know, that it sucks. You have to like that's like the option. You know, it's like you've come this far and you're like, this is what I'm doing now, and like you know, but like you got like I said, you got to break some eggs right before you make an omelet. So
For sure, man. You're trying to hack your body.
Yeah.
In a very interesting, unfortunate way. But you know, I think it just goes to kind of convey the idea or convey the notion. I think that most of us are on board with at this point that what we've done to our bodies over the last century and the types of foods that we eat and the ways that we treat ourselves in the medical system, or I should say the way that doctors treat us, not necessarily with intention of harm, but to the best of their knowledge or ability, that it's damaging.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is unnatural.
Yes.
And by the time we get to our 30s and 40s, you know, we're climbing a sand dune. You know, we're trying very hard to undo some of what we've done with very little information. And as much as I lament the existence of the internet, it has allowed for information to be shared that has been able to help people throughout the world in a way that is unprecedented.
Yeah.
And for that, I'll always be grateful, especially in this instance, because I don't think that at this point, you could argue that Kim might not necessarily be alive, or if she were alive, she would be completely hospital bound with probably half of her guts taken out.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Like no real quality of life. You know, it's just like you know that's the thing.
And so we live in an amazing time in history, and you know, I try to focus on that as much as I can, especially when I read, you know, posts by idiots on Facebook and stuff like that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
the internet is a good thing. The internet is a good thing. I love it.
Well, it's like everything. There's the yin and yang, you know?
Everything's got a trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it like we've had one guest on with ulcerative colitis. We're actually just booked another person with ulcerative colitis, and it's very similar. Where like back like not just even 15 years ago, if you had UC, you would get part of your colon or all of your colon removed, you know?
Sure.
So it's
Yeah.
very similar where, and then the person that we had on, he is on an experimental drug that's working beautifully. And hopefully at this point, it's going to be for the masses with UC, so they don't have to get their colons removed. And then the person we're coming on soon, he actually ate these like, he went to Thailand and ate these like parasitic worms.
I've heard of this.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And that saved him. So it's like sometimes we get so desperate with our health that we are literally willing to try anything, you know?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate how long it.
Up to that.
Yeah, and it sucks how long for like this mainstream medical stuff, at least in this country, and like I would say more westernized countries that like really kind of get on board with that stuff. Because I mean, at some point, like I think I read somewhere too with the fecal implant stuff, like people can do like you can almost take a pill. I'm not saying like that's how most people do it, but like some people like found like these little like, you know, it's like a oral thing, like you just do it that way. So I mean, it's just so crazy the fact that like, you know, I think people, no pun intended, poo-poo ideas of a fecal implant, but like literally it's like something that completely saves someone's life.
Yeah.
Like really upgrade their quality of life and just, you know, in some cases cure a lot of ailments that people are suffering from.
We had a guest on last year that wrote a book called Ferdology, and in the book he says, do not do fecal implants. Why are people doing this? And then when he wrote the book in 2018, and when we had him on 2020, I was already discovering stuff about fecal implants. And then I asked him, I was like, if you rewrite your book, would you take that out? And he goes, yes. He was like, yeah, I realized that what I said 2 years ago, the science is coming back. This is actually working for people. So yeah, we have to, I'm not saying everything is for everybody, but keep an open mind. And if it worked for Kimberly, which obviously it did, you know.
But I think it's too. It's like do your due diligence. You know, we're not medical experts here. This is one particular case. You know, it worked for her. It might not work for you, but you never know. You should, you know, just there's tons of research out there, and especially
you know, bio individual, and you know, it's gosh, even at a superficial level, something that we're generally told can be very helpful to our gut, like taking probiotics. For some people, is disastrous.
Yes.
You know, because it's not the starting point. Like, they might be dealing with something that makes introducing probiotics into their gut something that makes them blow up, makes them, you know, deal with a lot of discomfort on a regular basis. They just might need to start from a completely different place, which is why I think gut testing is part of the future. It's still rare, unfortunately, but to actually map the gut microbiome is, I think it's not only invaluable, but I think it's a necessity
Completely.
for understanding your body comprehensively, especially the more we know about the gut-brain connection and how that affects your entire nervous system.
Completely.
I was hanging out with a friend of mine over the weekend, and she has really itchy scalp, and a doctor told her it could be yeast in her hair. And I said and she goes, I don't know what to do. And I go, why don't you just cut everything out of your diet that has yeast in it for a week and just see?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and I was like, well, you just drank some beers the other night. Was your scalp itchier the next day? And she goes,
Sure.
it was. And I was
Yeah.
like, ding, 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 you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just, but a lot of us, we're big babies and we don't want to cut out those fun things from our diet, you know? Like
It's
we do.
very true.
Yeah. So, but like once in a while, we got to just like listen to our gut, listen to our health, figure out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to someone the other day who said they would rather die than give up gluten. And
That's I love when people say those grandiose things. I'm like, okay, so you're on your deathbed, you're like, I gotta have this sandwich. I'm sorry.
I just have to go
Yeah.
that way every day.
You're like,
It's
that's just, you know. Yeah.
But that, you know, that's unfortunate because the world that we live in now, most of us do have gluten sensitivity.
Yes.
And people think that being given a clean bill of health in terms of like, oh, you don't have celiac means that you don't have gluten sensitivity. And the fact of the matter is it's not true. The
Yes.
exposure that we have to these refinement and enrichment methods of different types of blood and bread and various products that use wheat gluten and wheat flour has changed us. I read a study just a few years ago, an Air Force base. I think it closed in the 1940s. I can't remember exactly, but inside they found a handful of samples of perfectly preserved blood from airmen decades and decades and decades ago. And they tested hundreds of blood samples that were left behind, and there was no trace, there was no evidence of gluten sensitivity in anyone's body, versus now, where that has become the majority,
Yeah.
as opposed to the exception. It's fascinating.
Well, they say a lot of the gluten sensitivity here in the United States, they don't have even in Europe, and a lot of it is just the freaking chemicals we are putting on our crops.
Roundup.
You know, so it might not be the actual wheat; it's the crap.
Well, it's,
you know,
it's the way it's processed. It's the way
Yeah.
it's stored. It's the way it's like, you know, preserved and, you know.
That's certainly what I meant.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
I have
still,
a gluten
it's like-
intolerance. I'm not celiac, but when I eat it, it literally hits in my gut, and then I start feeling like flu-like symptoms because my body cannot digest it correctly. You know,
Right.
and so it's just not worth it to me.
And people who live in big markets, big cities, luckily enough, there are stores like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's where you can get gluten-free breads. that
Everything.
taste fine.
Yeah.
Just fine.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, it all tasted like cardboard.
Yes.
Not anymore.
No, there's
You know,
so much
Yeah, the
variety.
gains have been made up pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I was
we can
at-
all survive.
I was
Yeah.
in Montreal last year, and I went to a patisserie that had gluten-free everything, and I had a gluten-free croissant that tasted like a real croissant. And I was like, "This is the future, people."
Yeah.
But with
Yeah.
the stuff that's in that, the potato starch, we might get gut problems from that if we overdo it. You know,
sure.
everything
Yeah.
in moderation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just, it's something that needs to be looked at, especially in this country where there's just so much like corporate farming and all that stuff just sort of take over the way things
Yeah.
used to be, which,
Yeah.
you know, but anyway, oof. I mean, first I just want to say thank you, even though I think that's such an amazing thing. We're far from being done with the show, but I just want to say thank you for for just doing all that to help a friend out, because that's remarkable. I mean, that's just like,
No, you made a lot of sacrifices, including playing with your own poop.
yeah,
I have a feeling it won't be the last time.
yeah. People are gonna be like, hey, so can I buy some of that shit from you? You got a whole side hustle going on now.
Why not?
Yeah, right.
Right?
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Become a millionaire off your crap.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But Kimberly told us she did it the second time, and I guess you did it like a couple days in a row. But she's been fine ever since, right?
I mean, we didn't do any kind of like control for it, so there's no way to say, oh, this is empirical evidence that this specifically worked for her. It's anecdotal.
Yeah.
We did it, and she got better. But to be fair, and to be clear to your audience, she was also doing a lot of other things for her health as well.
Right.
And so they were probably all contributing factors,
Yeah.
if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Right. And that makes sense. I mean, she had a lot of issues going in too, so I'm sure it's not just the one
She had
shot
a lot
kind of thing.
changes, Yeah.
Yeah. So
But what I'm trying to say is she's not knocking on your door asking for more poo.
Nope, not since then.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I love you, but let's just put a little time out on this one.
Break them out
Yeah.
on the feces.
We start getting some questions, maybe.
Yeah. Do you mind, unless you have anything else to add to something that we forgot about fecal transplants?
I don't think. I mean,
Just
cleanup
checking.
is gross,
You're like,
but
I've put this out of my head, guys. Like,
yeah, it's like the bowl and the spoon that I used to help me. I just threw it away every
Oh.
time. Like I just couldn't. I was like, I'm not. Nope, never did. Just throw it away.
well, yeah, that's
Can't do it.
yeah.
Can't do it.
You know what?
Cleaning it-
Out with the old.
Yeah, it just start fresh. Other than that, those were the only casualties, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
But that's it.
Oh, that's good. So for questions, we love to ask our guests, what brand of toilet paper do you use, and do you put it on the roll over or under?
It's definitely over, but as far as what brand, oh gosh, as long as it looks like it's of a decent consistency, I buy whatever's on sale.
Oh.
If it's like industrial grade that's meant for like a school, like I'll pass. But as long as it's like of a good quality, okay, I'll take whatever's on sale.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And do you sit or stand to wipe your butt?
definitely sit.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely sit. And during the toilet paper, the great toilet paper crisis of 2020, I went the extra mile and bought a bidet.
Yeah.
Fun.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. So I'm in.
Washing over wiping is always better.
You really do feel much better.
Oh.
I know it freaks people out because they're like, how am I supposed to use this? But like once you do it a couple times, it's
like you can't imagine. Like, how did I live without this before?
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
You know?
Sure. I think everyone kind of envisions that their butt just gets soaking wet, and they won't really know how to handle it from there. But it's a very thin stream.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of a very. It's
Yeah.
not.
It's like a water
It's not.
pick.
It's not a fire hydrant style. Like
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
gusher.
I know I gifted it to somebody and they were like, how do you know it was a woman, and she's like, how do you know it's not going to get into my vagina instead of my butthole? And I'm like, because it just doesn't. If you want it to get into your vagina, you can like tilt in a different direction, but
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just water though.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like water gets in our vagina in the top,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
She's like,
Yeah.
no water gets in my vagina. You're like, that's insane.
right. Just water.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. What is your first memory of poops and farts as a child?
Oh boy, farting, that would have to be my dad's like chronic and very loud air horn like flatulence. it was a thing. I used to draw pictures of him doing it because it happened so often and it could shake the walls. It was
Ooh.
like those kinds of like grandiose rips.
Right.
As far as like my own early memories of feces, it would probably have to be, I was about 3 years old and I had a tiny little for kids pinball machine, and me and my brother ended up breaking the thing open, getting it open somehow. And for me, just little kid learning things, tactile stimulation, curiosity, I took the little silver bowl and I put it in my mouth and I ended up swallowing it.
Oh.
And so, of course, I had to go to the doctor, but from that point on, it was a daily excavation into my feces to
Find that
find
ball.
this silver ball, and it was hilarious. It was really. I remember when it finally came out, just laughing so hard as a little 3-year-old kid. I just thought it was the most interesting thing in the world that a little silver ball could pass through my body like that.
Okay, rewind. You said you were 3?
I was about 3 years old. Yeah.
And who was excavating your poo?
Parents.
My mom.
Ah,
My mom, yeah. I had to sit on basically like a potty trainer so that she could go through all of it to make sure it came out, because if it can't come out, then I would have to have some kind of surgery.
ooh.
Yeah,
And
then
then-
cut to you, doing the same thing for Kimberly.
Exactly.
You're like, I'm sorry, Mom.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are playing with your poo all your life. And then how long did it take for it to come out?
Oh God, probably about a week or so.
Wow, that's a long time.
I don't know how it got stuck up there, but it didn't move as quickly as we anticipated. But yeah, I would say probably close to a week.
Wow.
Yeah, we did a news story once about people who swallowed a Lego man's head. And they tested all
Yeah.
the people to see how long that took to come out of them. And a week, I think one person was maybe that long, but most people within like 24, 48 hours.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just it's interesting how your body's so different.
Sure. I mean, like as a 3-year-old, I don't remember like the day by day.
Right,
but
right.
I do remember that it took so long that my mom just did away with the potty trainer, because she was just like, well, I think it probably had to have come out by now. And so when I transferred back to the adult toilet, that's when it actually came out.
Oh.
And I saw it. And so
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't like a 24-hour, 48-hour period. It took a few days.
So you were sitting on the adult toilet and you heard a think.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. That's the best. I mean, that is hilarious, though. I mean, I would have laughed, too.
So
You're like, there it is.
Good memory. Yeah.
Good memory, by the way, for 3. Jesus.
And what's your best cure for diarrhea or constipation?
Diarrhea or constipation? If it's diarrhea, I kind of let it just run its course, honestly, because I just won't plan to go anywhere, because that's the body's way of evacuating something wrong.
Yes.
It's, the body has only a few ways of getting rid of things that it sees as a threat or an invasion to your insides, and that's through your skin, through vomiting, or through diarrhea. And
Yes.
so if something needs to get out, just let it out.
Yes.
Don't
Yeah.
try to stop it. A lot of people would prefer to treat their symptoms, and what they actually do is prevent their body from healing even longer. And so
Yes.
if you can endure it, having diarrhea for a few days, just rock and roll, go for it.
Yeah.
But
And just keep
ultimately,
hydrating.
Yeah.
yes, that for sure. A healthy diet and maintaining hydration is, I think, the best cure for both of them.
Yes, completely.
100%.
And then besides your lovely new bidet, what other products do you like to use in the bathroom to help you poo? It could be anything to
squatty potties.
Ah, yes, the
Nice.
stool is
I
great.
use those. I'm trying to think of like a tool that I use, and actually I do use one. Yeah, just elevate my feet.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it
great.
works.
Yeah,
It does
I got
work.
one from my mom, and she said it's been a lifesaver for her.
Nice. Mom knows.
They do work. Yeah.
And what's the worst toilet you've ever seen in public? I feel like in New Orleans bars, there's been too many.
Yeah, I mean, New Orleans bars are just absolute disasters, for sure. But at least somebody shows up eventually to clean it. Whereas like music festivals, like Jazz Fest down here, it goes for 2 weekends, and so those porta-potties will just stay there
Oh, no.
a week.
That's crazy.
Just thousands and thousands of people relieving themselves
Ugh.
in these things, and they are not pretty pictures at all. Yeah, so that's
Something stinks.
1,000.
Yeah.
I would say a New Orleans music festival portalet is
Yep.
the worst
Yep.
by far.
Yeah, I'm 100% agreeing with you on that one.
And
Yeah.
then, Edward, our favorite question of the hour.
Okay.
Bristol 7 coming out of you fast and furious, and there's zero toilet in sight. Do you poop in your pants or go to somewhere on the floor? Pants versus floor.
Oh my God. Well, hopefully I'm not like at least I'm like near the outdoors.
Yes, you can pick location.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had a similar circumstance.
This is why we asked this question, because we hope that you have a story that goes along with it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of stories. One, I was in Egypt many years ago, and I decided to eat at the KFC there. This is before I was a vegetarian, and whatever they put in their KFC is very different.
I can imagine.
And so I had to go to the bathroom quick. But I don't know if they are dealing with a toilet paper shortage in Africa or what have you, but there was someone that stood at the door and they only gave you like one square of toilet paper.
Oh,
and
no.
You just had to make do. I ended up leaving my underwear in the bathroom of that
Yeah.
Egyptian KFC. It was gross. My second story, I was on my way back from Las Vegas, and because I lived in Los Angeles, and everybody from LA would drive to Vegas on a Thursday or Friday, and they would all come back Sunday evening. So the traffic was always terrible. So we were at a bumper-to-bumper standstill, and I just went out in the desert. I just got out of my car and just went in the desert. It was, I mean, everyone could see me, but I wasn't going in my car or in my pants. So if there's an option, I'm going on the floor or in the woods
hell yeah.
or wherever.
It's the desert too. It's like they'll just reabsorb into the earth.
Yeah, but the desert doesn't have a tree you can hide
Hey,
behind.
it's better than your car.
I was wide open.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine shitting in your pants in your car and then bumper to bumper? You're like, and you're looking outside. I could just gone out there. What's 5 minutes of embarrassment? Who cares?
Yep, I just sucked it up.
Yeah.
I just sucked it up.
And you know, right after you did that, like another person was probably down the way. Was like, "Fuck, I'm doing that." Like,
Or another person down the way just shit their pants,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Damn it, I didn't know that
Yeah.
was an option."
yeah.
Go in the desert.
Oh, it's so funny. Nice. Well, we have 2 little segments left. One is called
Shitty choices.
and you get 2 choices. They're horrible, by the way. These are not
Love
good
it.
choices.
Love it.
So, I think Ellen said this one. Would you rather have farts that smell like your favorite food, or finding out your favorite food is made of poop?
It would be the farts.
Yeah.
By far. Yeah. Like.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I'm gonna go with the farts as well.
Yeah. I don't. No. Just finding out anything I've ingested is made of feces is not a winner for me.
No.
So, yeah. I
No?
would rather the farts.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Okay, so what's your favorite food?
My favorite. Probably spaghetti.
So you'd have farty spaghetti smells coming out of you.
Take that. I can get it.
But you know what it's. But you know that it's spaghetti. You know that it's food.
Yeah. It's food.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. You're like, it's a little stinky, a little sulfury.
What about you, Dave? What's your favorite food?
I have so many. Lately, I've been into tacos of any specific kind. Doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a farty taco. That's fine with me.
That's it. Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
I can deal
I
with
could do that.
for sure.
Just sit there and
Yep.
Yeah. Most people's diarrhea smells like Taco Bell. Anyway.
yeah.
In America.
yeah.
If I found out that my tacos that I make at home or get from like my favorite restaurant are made of poop, that would fuck me up so bad.
I would imagine. Yeah.
I think I'd be completely macrobiotic. I think I'd be like, I'm not eating anything solid anymore. I'm just gonna be like, just give me some veggies. And that's it.
Yeah.
And like, as long as I don't have shit on them.
Right.
Yeah, but like, okay, so just to say for this shitty choice, what if that was like you ate a piece of fruit and then all of a sudden you're farting out spaghetti or tacos? Like, you'd be like, what the fuck's up with my gut that like it turns an apple into the farts of tacos? One.
Yeah.
Two, also, wouldn't it get to a point where like after you farted spaghetti, you'd be like, I just don't want to eat spaghetti anymore?
No.
And that's the risk.
Yeah.
That's the risk.
Well,
for sure.
look,
Yeah.
if I just farted like the smell of tacos, that's way better than what it normally smells like.
Sure.
I'd be like, yeah, this is,
And if you learn this about yourself, you can always kind of make it a point to like go somewhere where you can leave that fart behind you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just go out into the yard and just be like, I'm not smelling spaghetti today.
Yeah. And also, if
Or
you're
light a match right after.
if you're out in public or if you're with someone you really like, whatever the case may be, and you fart spaghetti, that's way better. Like, smells like there's smelling spaghetti in here. You're like, no, that was me.
Yeah. You might have a positive effect.
Yeah,
So,
I'm hanging with this person.
I've talked about this on the show before, but I'll say it again. There are certain foods that before, when I had my really bad IBS, that I would eat it and 30 minutes later I would fart and it would smell exactly like the food I just ate.
Yeah,
Like
well,
exactly 30 minutes. There was these potato chips and I was around a friend. There was like, and I ate them and I farted out the smell of potato chips. And she's like, how did you do that? And I was like, I have no idea what's up with my fucking gut.
a food fart smell is way better than an actual real fucking fart. So I mean, all day. I mean, I wish I could do that right now, to be honest with you.
for sure.
So, all right. We all know that. And, people, I'm guessing that's going to be a landslide in the polls. But,
Yes.
you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play this little quick news intro, and then we'll get you out of here. Here we go. Okay, so since you're our guest today and we're talking about fecal implants, I just wanted to basically find a story on this. So this came from The Insider, reported by Anna Medeiros Miller, February 24th, 2020. People are turning to YouTube and Facebook to learn how to do DIY fecal transplants, hoping to treat everything from ulcerative colitis to anxiety. So we're finding out that a lot of people are either going on YouTube or Facebook groups or making these giant YouTube channels just on like actually how to do this. And I just find it fucking fascinating. I mean, I think it's great. Like you said, like the internet is amazing in that sense where you can just find out anything you need to know.
Yeah.
But some people are like, this is great, but they don't recommend, because they're not doctors. It's kind of like the biggest complaint for people who are talking about this or especially from doctors were like, this is great. I mean, some doctors don't want to be named, but some are like, this is great. But the fact that you might need to have these, like you took that test, that Viome test, or anything to find out kind of bacteria. Because a lot of people are just kind of doing it like, I'm just going to shit and give it to my friend, and nothing's going to get tested, and that's that's sort of the risk.
Sure. Yeah.
So I just
Or even like these people are not probably prepping the way Edward did, like with diet and everything,
completely. But a lot of people are just like the basic complaint was like a lot of people are reaching out to Reddit, Facebook, because like the either A, the technology is not talked about or like readily available for them or by their doctors. They're sick of waiting for research, so they're basically just kind of cobbling together anything they can to kind of build like a village, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's
definitely one of those things where you gotta do your diligence.
Oh, completely.
You don't want to kind of like wing it.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
And you're
There's-
still like, literally, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah. Well, I think too, for like you said, for a lot of people, like this is something that's very valuable and that could be done to like help with some serious issues.
Sure.
Some people they're saying in this article, like they're just like, oh, I want to have the metabolism of my friends, so I'm just going to put their shit in my body. It's like really,
don't
that's not for you.
For sure.
Yeah, try some other things.
If you don't have to do it, don't do it. Try to repopulate your gut the normal way, which is eat right.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's just fascinating. Just like, but one of my favorite things was like there were some like stills of like different videos, and this guy had like on a table like all the equipment, and he ran through every single thing, which I thought was like pretty amazing. Like he did all the work.
I didn't have one of those.
Yeah.
I just had a text breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's just basically like there's becoming more and more of these sort of like pockets, and people are finding. I mean, South Park did a whole episode on it, which was fantastic. It was so funny.
Interesting.
Kyle's mom had she had C. diff, and then they're like, basically, what we're gonna do is put our poop, take some healthy poop, put up her butt, and the kids are like, we can never let anybody know about this. And then the whole town later on, like it's a great episode. It's really really funny.
Right.
If you get a chance to check it out, yeah, it's a really good one. It's a really recent one. It's in the last year, so
Yeah,
you should check that out. Edward, thank you so much
Thank you, guys.
You are the best.
I
just want
appreciate
to,
it.
yeah, I just want to say thank you again for helping your friend out like that and just going above and beyond. And
It's my kind of pleasure, for sure.
excellent,
Yes.
excellent. If you want to plug anything, or if you have anything for our listeners, they want to where to find you if they're in New Orleans, they want to take a tour. Like, how can they find you?
Sure. If you are down in New Orleans and would like to take a dark history tour, you can find us at www.hottesthell, not hot as hell, hottesthell.com. And if you want to listen to me and Kimberly talk about true crime, murder, and ghost stories once a month on our podcast, it is Hottest Hell Presents. It can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yay.
Excellent. We'll definitely check that out. And thanks again. And thank you for laughing and learning everything but with us.
And happy pooping, everybody, and enjoy your butthole.
Hey Poopy Podcast is brought to you by Perfect 4 Entertainment. Produced by Dave and Ellen, with executive producer Stormy Leather. Edited by me, Dave.
For more information, go to heypoopypodcast.com for episodes, merch, and more. Follow us on Instagram at heypoopypodcast and Twitter at heypoopy. Theme song by Jordan Perlson. Hey Poopy.